In 2023, I did a video on the channel outlining a low-cost and fully reversible coach lighting enhancement to the Hornby Class 800 series models. The enhancement delivered a bright and more prototypical coach lighting effect with a more accurate colour temperature. While I was initially happy enough with the result, I've become less so in recent months. It's time to go again and revisit the Class 800's coach lighting. Hi, thanks for joining today's video. Here's our running order for today. Why I've decided to revisit the original upgrade. And we'll take a quick look back at that original upgrade at the start. And then we'll consider how to make it better. We'll then do some comparisons with the revised upgrade that I'm going to go through. And we'll finish off with an overall summary. In my recent running session video of a 9-car Class 800 Azuma, which incorporated the recently released 4-car expansion pack from Hornby, I was keen to show the relative old versus new versions of the lighting in that video. To achieve this, I ran the running session in slightly darker conditions than normal so that the lighting would be more visible. To my dismay, the upgraded lighting, while more accurate colour-wise than the out-of-the-box lighting, it didn't show as brightly as I was expecting, and it caused me to revisit the lighting upgrade with a view to enhancing it further. In the original video, I presented this table which showed the trade-off for different resistor value options, which essentially controlled the amount of current going to the LEDs. The table assumes that the existing lighting is kept in place and that the new lighting is overlaid on top. This would allow you to revert to the original lighting if you ran into trouble, or for sale purposes if you're selling the unit on. One of the issues with using smaller resistor values was the lighting stability, which is effectively a measure of the stay-alive time for the lighting based on the installed stay-alive capacitor. In this regard, maintaining the existing LEDs in place is hugely limiting, as the stay-alive time with these LEDs in place is of the order of 1 to 2 seconds. The lighting upgrade is an overlay on this, which is why we start seeing the fall off in lighting stability with the lower resistor values. If the LEDs for the out-of-the-box lighting are fully removed, things can change dramatically, and we can see stay-alive times in the region of 8 to 10 seconds or more with the upgraded lighting on its own. This opens the door for cranking up the brightness to get to the levels that we were hoping for. Before we go any further, here's a warning that any of the further changes we're going to make will not be easily reversible. So just take note of that before implementing any of the changes I'm going to outline in the next section. The removal of the existing LEDs from the lighting PCB in each coach will require you to heat up the solder joints on either end of the LEDs and lever them off with a very small flathead screwdriver. Be careful to preserve the pads underneath should you wish to attempt to use them in the future. For those with experience in surface mount soldering, you may even look to replace the LEDs directly on the PCB, assuming you can source suitable LEDs that have the same form factor and have the colour temperature and brightness performance required. Given I already had LED strips with the lighting performance I was happy with, using these strips made a lot more sense for me to go with. I'd previously done some experimentation with the 500 ohm resistor value, which would potentially double the brightness level from what I had originally. With the onboard LEDs gone, I could decrease this further to get to the brightness level I was looking for. I found resistor values of between 330 or 390 ohms gave me what I wanted, and have gone with the 390 ohm level. This still gives me a stay-alive time of 6 to 8 seconds, which is vastly superior to the out-of-box configuration. With this new resistor value, we not only get a really good level of brightness, but the quality of the light is also better, as the LED is running at a better point in its operating range. The incremental work you need to do for each coach isn't that bad. You need to open the coach separating the base from the top body of the coach, take out the 2 screws holding the lighting PCB to the inside of the roof. You need to keep these screws safe as they're very small and easily lost. Remove any clear tape which is securing the new LED strip to the original lighting PCB, and move the upgraded LED lighting strip away from the underlying PCB to allow you to access the original surface mount LEDs that are underneath. Each of these LEDs needs to be removed as we discussed earlier. Be careful when doing this not to create shorts between the pads that these LEDs were residing on. replace the load resistor with a 330 ohm or 390 ohm resistor. The smaller, of course, will give you a brighter effect. I've gone with 390 ohms for now because that gives me a brightness level I'm happy with. You will need to put some sellotape over the area of the screw hole that goes through the added LED strip. This is required to avoid shorting the pads on either side of that particular strip. With the sellotape added, pierce it on either side with the top of a scalpel and insert the screw before mounting it back onto the roof. While you have the coach open like this, you may wish to undertake a number of other tasks. Painting the roof and sidewalls of the coach to address the severe light bleed problems on these coaches. That's one thing you could try to do right now. You may also wish to paint the tabletops. These are painted white in standard class and light grey in first class. And this is a relatively modest work item, but still gives quite a good effect in the end. You could also look at painting the seat covers. You use a red in standard class, where only the front part of the seat is needs to be painted. And use dark red in first class, covering the entire seat, excluding the armrests. You can leave these unpainted. You can also look at the addition of some passengers along the way. To address the light bleed, you will need to start with a minimum of 2 coats of a dark heavy paint to block the light, and then cover this with a couple of coats of white paint for the roof and light grey paint for the side panels. If you're only ever going to run these coaches in daylight or normal room lighting, the issue of light bleed should be minimal at worst, saving the effort in trying to counteract it. Okay, let's take a look at 3 examples, I guess. One of the existing lighting, and this is in quite a bright environment, so the ambient light here would be quite bright. Typically what I might be using if I was filming, for example. So we've got the out-of-box lighting at the top there, and you can see the pretty awful kind of red tinge. It gives this kind of red look on the seats, and perhaps that's the reason they went with this particular lighting. But it's in no way an accurate representation of the lighting in one of these particular cars. So this really is not good, and it is relatively dim. Now the middle one here is the actual upgraded lighting. This is from the upgrade I did in my original video last year, basically overlaying a white LED on top, a cold white LED, which is more prototypical. It's about the same level of brightness as the original ones, so it's not going to give you, an extra punch from a brightness perspective, but it does give you a proper color temperature, as you can see. And of course, the other thing now it highlights is that you've got grey seats, so it kind of shows you that those seats probably need attention. At the very bottom, we've got the upgraded lighting. This is the enhanced one, where I've removed the pre-existing LEDs. And we've upped the amount of current we're feeding into the new strip of LEDs, the kind of replacement strip that we're using. So it's a lot brighter, it's a lot cleaner because the LEDs are operating in their proper range. So you're getting much better color rendering here. And you can see I've put some passengers in here as well. And I've also painted these seats. I've done some very simple painting on them just to get an idea of what that would look like. And you can't really see the tabletops here, but the tabletops, just painting those alone can make quite a difference. So I think if you just painted the tabletops and put in a few passengers, that would actually make a huge difference to these models, along with the new enhanced lighting. I guess it doesn't really show up the enhanced brightness too much, but it is very noticeable, an awful lot more noticeable than the other two. So if you were actually doing a recording of a running session, you wouldn't really see that the lights were on in the top two, whereas you would see it on the third one there. So here we go from a slightly different angle, and this is with a reduced level of ambient light, so the difference starts to become a little bit more pronounced. You can see the top one there with that awful red tinge. You can see the middle one there, which is the existing upgrade. And again, you can see the bottom here with the passengers and the enhanced lighting and the white tabletop. So you can just see a white tabletop there. Now, the last one is the real, this is the clincher for me. So we've turned the lights out totally in the room, so we've no ambient light at all, or extremely dim ambient light. So you've got that horrible red light up at the top there, which is the out-of-box lighting. It really does look pretty ugly in this view. You've got the grey lighting in the middle there with it's the same sort of light intensity, maybe a slightly bit brighter than the red lighting above it, but at least it's a proper white light, so it's accurate from that perspective, which is good. And then we've got the kind of Rolls Royce underneath here, which is the enhanced level of brightness. And you'll notice that the grey on the seats, you notice the different coloured grey on the seats. You're getting to see the correct colour temperature on the bottom one here because you're operating those LEDs at a brighter level. You're getting better light coverage, and you're also getting a better actual light performance. The actual colour temperature you're getting there, the white balance level is a lot better, and you can see it. And this just stands out. You can just see these guys in the dark. You can see the passengers in the coach. It just looks so much better. Now, the other issue, of course, when you're in the dark like this is you've got the light bleed. And the light bleed on these is pretty horrendous, unfortunately. It comes out the top roof, it comes out the sides, it comes out the ends. It's like you really have to do a job on the internals of the coach to resolve this. And it applies to all 5 cars in the standard set. Unfortunately, if you're going to run in a totally darkened environment, you're going to see it. If you run in a kind of daylight environment or a kind of middle environment, you probably really won't see it that much. But if you do want to do night running, you're going to need to tackle this. So in summary, I believe the case for going with the improved level of lighting performance is compelling. It looks so good in all lighting conditions, and is an encouragement to do some extra work with the internals, even if you only painted the tabletops and added a few passengers. Even these modest steps elevate the model to a new level. It should be noted that if Hornby had merely sourced alternative LEDs, this enhanced lighting could have been delivered at no extra cost in making the product. As you start lowering the ambient light, the problem of light bleed starts to become a major issue with this particular model due to the light-coloured plastic. Solving this would have required some extra manufacturing steps for sure, but the Class 800 commands a pretty hefty price tag these days. Given that, it's not unreasonable for modelers to expect a lighted model like this to be properly engineered from day one so as not to have this problem. So did I achieve my objective here? I have to say I'm really pleased with the end result, and it's such an improvement that I can't see anyone wanting to revert to the original lighting, even if you were selling your set on at some stage. As a bonus, it's also going to give you a lot more stay alive time, more than you're ever going to need. It really does make a substantive improvement to the model, and I love this model even more with the changes. I just need to work my way through the 4-car expansion now. So what are your thoughts on the out-of-box coach lighting on the Hornby Class 800? Are you satisfied with it? And if not, have you already, or would you be tempted to engage in this sort of lighting upgrade? So thanks for joining today's video. Please hit a like if you found it of use. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. In the meantime, take care and happy modeling.